Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to our Wednesday night class on the Parashah. Tonight we're studying Rav Shimshon Pincus. May his great memory be upon us and his great merit be upon us. We're studying Parashat Terumah. So we learn about the fascinating tabernacle, the Mishkan, the portable temple that we had in the desert. And we remind ourselves that the main point of holiness and sanctifying oneself and the Shekhinah, Hashem's presence residing in the Mishkan, is all dependent on the person himself. If one sanctifies themselves properly through studying Torah and fulfilling mitzvot, then they'll be a holy person. And God will reside there. The pasuk says, the verse says, take a look at your screen. Exodus chapter 25, verse 8, and they shall make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in their midst. The Torah doesn't tell us that he's going to dwell in the tabernacle, betocho. It says betocham, plural, meaning Hashem is going to reside as Shekhinah in Bnei Israel, amongst the Jews. Each and every aspect, an article of the Mishkan, has its own real and practical lesson that applies to us and our service of Hashem. So Rav Pincus wants to focus on one of the vessels, one of the articles in the Mishkan, and probably one of the most important ones. The verse tells us, this is in chapter 25, verse 15, Betabeot ha'aron yu habadim lo yasuru mimenu. The poles of the ark shall be in the rings, they shall not be removed from it. What's the Torah telling us? Well, the Aaron and the tablets were all placed. The tablets that were placed in the Aaron, in the ark, allude to the Torah scholars, who are literally the vessel of our holy Torah. They study it, they teach it, they explain it. The rings that are on the ark, as we just read, had rods placed in it. And these rods served as a way to carry the Torah, or carry the ark from place to place. The rods allude to those who support Torah. And just as the rods who supported the ark are never to be removed, so too, this is teaching us that those who support Torah are part and parcel with the Torah. These rods, the Torah said, should never be removed, and this is why one who supports Torah has an everlasting merit for the great deed and generosity they had. Torah classes, Torah scholars, teaching young children. All of that is to come teach us that one who supports Torah should feel this need to connect to Torah in whatever capacity that they may have. So it's very important. Number one, they receive all the merit of all the Torah that's being done when they support the Torah. And number two is they're never removed from the Torah. So whatever capacity, if it's reading something, if it's attending a class, if it's listening to a class, whatever it may be, they have a equal part of responsibility to connect to Torah, and they can't just acquit themselves from supporting Torah. All this comes to teach us that learning Torah and supporting Torah are absolutely dependent on one another, meaning they're inseparable. One who supports Torah has to still learn Torah, and one who learns Torah still has to support Torah, even something small. Rav Pincus says Torah scholars who may not make that much money still have to donate towards Torah study. Another Torah scholar, or a synagogue, or a yeshiva, or a kollel, something. It's a two-way street. If you're learning all the time, you got to give a little bit towards supporting Torah. If you're supporting Torah all the time, well, then you have to give a little bit towards learning Torah. By all the vessels of the Mishkan, look at this, how beautiful this is. Every single vessel in the tabernacle, God commanded Moses to make it. When it came to the construction or the forming of the ark, God says, make it in plural. Why in plural? because God wanted all, and he welcomed all of the Jewish people to come join and partake in the making of the ark, so that each of them would have their own merit in the Torah and receive the blessings of Torah. This is how powerful Torah is, Rav Pinkus is telling us, that it is there for everyone, whether you're a Torah scholar or whether you're a supporter of Torah. First of all, you got to choose to be one of them. Second of all, it doesn't acquit you from the other side. Now, speaking about the ark, Rav Pinkus now lends himself to or shifts to speaking about another important aspect of the ark. So he introduces this concept by saying that the existence of God in this world isn't such a shanda. It's not a novelty that the Jews came up with. Many other religions do believe in God or a God or some type of superpower, somewhat. Anyone who looks at the world and wonders about the creation and living beings and nature, can come to the conclusion that there must be a God, and this is not all one big mistake. One grand difference that the Jewish people did do live by, and is a novelty by their belief, is that in the heart of every single person, there's a philosophical question that needs to be answered. And the question is, how is it that God, who is so great, amazing, awesome, limitless, infinite, how could he have any interest or connection to a lowly, finite creature such as a human being? He's so grand, he's so amazing. Why is it that he cares if I lie, if I steal, if I cheat? Or how could he even care if I do good to another person, if I'm generous, if I'm helpful, if I'm kind? Who cares? Why would God care? This is the big problem that Gentiles have with religion. And the answer of this question lies between the Jewish mentality and the Gentile mentality, and even the difference between a righteous person and a wicked person. See, the Gentile may agree, and even a wicked person may agree, that there is a creator, but he's up on high. He's too high and holy to be occupied with the meaningless world and its creatures. In contrast, Jews and righteous people believe that not only did God create the world, he's involved in every aspect of this world and in every aspect of our lives. And that we have, because of that involvement and his care that he has for us, we have the ability to connect to him, to turn to him in prayer and praise, and to connect to God through learning his Torah. More than that, Rav Pinkus says, we believe that God has a deep love for the Jewish people, like from one spouse to another. We say in our prayers, Ahava Rabbah, Ahavat Olam, a tremendous amount of love, an eternal love that Hashem has for us and that we have for him. So look how great this concept is. He uses this vessel of the tabernacle to show us and to prove us this exact point, this love he has for us. Something that was very visible and noticeable about the Aron, the ark, was the two cherubim, the two figurines, angelic figurines that were on top, made out of gold, on top of the Aron, on top of the ark. And one represented God and the other represented the Jewish people. Now, the amazing thing about these two figurines was they were identical. They were no different than one another. They were like twins. Take a look at your screen. Ve'asita, in chapter 25, verse 18, book of Exodus. Ve'asita shenaim keruvim zahav, and you shall make two golden keruvim. Miksha ta'aseh otam, you shall make them of hammered work. Mishnei ketzot hakaporet, from the two ends of the ark. They were identical. They had no difference between one another. Rav Pinkus says, how could that be? How could it be that one resembles God, one resembles the Jewish people, and that they each are represented equally? One should maybe be bigger than the other. One should be nicer. One should have wings. One shouldn't. There should be a difference between us and God. So based on the following analogy or anecdote, Rav Pinkus says a fascinating concept. He says, can you imagine a great rabbi? The example he gives is the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad, who was one of the most holy human beings that the world ever had. He knew everything. Imagine he walks into his house and up comes one of his children, tags him on his coat, and asks him the following question. Says, Daddy, can you give me something? Give me such and such. Can you imagine if the Ben Ish Chai would, and he actually did do this, respond by, we have to ask mommy? 1 second. We have to ask mommy? We're talking about one of the greatest people that ever lived. He was the leader of his generation. He knew all the Torah back and forth. He was wise. He was brilliant. He had divine inspiration. And he needs to ask his wife to give their child something petty? Well, let's be honest. How can we even compare the Ben Ish Chai to his wife, Rav Pinkus says? I'm saying, I'm sure she was a great person with all due respect, but she wasn't the Ben Ish Chai. He fasted for 40 years straight. He only ate at night for 40 years. We're talking about holiness physically and spiritually to another level. Not even things that we would even ever do. And he needs to ask his wife about the petty request the child has? The answer is yes, Rav Pinkus says. You know why? Because ever since they got married, they became partners. And look at the word he says. They became twins. What connects these people? What makes them twins? What makes her at the same high level as him? Answer is their love and dedication for one another. They become one. This is what our sages say. And they mean by God and Bnei Israel are married as a couple. This is why the figurines, the cheruvim, were identical, no different. They were exactly twins because we are a couple with Hashem. We live with him. He cares about us, and he's involved in every aspect of our lives. And therefore, we can turn to him in prayer and connect to him through the study of Torah. I think that this beautiful, beautiful insight that Rav Pinkus is sharing with us is so, so important, so practical. Number one, the first of choosing. Are you a scholar or a supporter? And even if you are a scholar, you also have to be a supporter. And even if you are a supporter of Torah, you have to also be a scholar in whatever capacity you can. That's number one. The merit is equal in both. Number two is that the fact that these figurines, which one represented God and one represented the Jewish people, were identical, shows us how close we really are with God. And why are we close with God? Why can we be close with God? Because he's involved in every aspect of our lives. He's there living with us because of the immense amount of love he has for us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us to realize that love that he has for us, to connect to Hashem through his Torah, through prayer, through realizing the love that he has for us, that will, B'ezrat Hashem, help us to serve him in the greatest way and to hopefully pass on that love that he has for us and that we have for him on to our children, our grandchildren, and the upcoming generations, up until and including Mashiach b'mira b'yameinu. Amen. B'amen.